As President Trump calls for border security, CBS News spoke with 9 congressional representatives who serve the districts that line the 2,000-mile southern border. One of those districts is Texas's 15th. It includes McAllen, Texas, where the president is set to visit this week. And Democratic Congressman Vicente González represents that district and joins us now from Capitol Hill. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So President Trump says that he is giving tonight's address to talk about the, quote, humanitarian and national security crisis on our southern border. Do you believe there is a crisis at the border?
There is not a crisis on the border, and the fact is, I've been saying all along, the crisis is in 3 Central American countries that we'd have ignored for many, many years, and I think we should be paying attention to the root of the problem instead of putting a Band-Aid on it at the border. I know the border very well. I know what brings real border security, and the simplistic idea of a brick-and-mortar wall will not bring real border security to our southern border at a monumental cost to taxpayers in America. So when I talked to the president, I talked to him about having a virtual border wall with incorporating cutting-edge technology that we already own and we're already using around the world. We need to think of intelligent ways to secure our border when we talk about border security. Now, when we talk about violence, for example, the city of McAllen is at a 33-year low in crime. So the city of El Paso is the 2nd safest, largest city in America. You will not find the crime that you find in Washington, D.C. on any city along the southern border of America. And we need to just have an honest conversation about what we're dealing with and try to find an honest solution for the American people that is not at a $25 billion monumental cost to taxpayers.
Congressman, I'm joined here on set by our Ed O'Keefe, CBS News political correspondent, who has some questions for you as well. Ed, go ahead.
Yeah, and as I do that, Congressman, I wonder if we can bring up the map again to show people where your district is in Texas, because there's what, 3 or 4 or 5 congressional districts that run along the U.S.-Mexico border there. You're there in McAllen.
Are in the McAllen area.
How much actual mileage of the U.S.-Mexico border does your district include there at the southern tip?
Well, the region where my district runs is probably about 40 miles, 30, 40 miles east to west, although it's divided with my neighboring members, so it's kind of an odd configurated district. But,
right.
But I have about 30, 40 miles of border along the Rio Grande.
Okay, and you're along the Rio Grande, obviously. So if I go down to the bottom southern tip of your district, what do I see when I get there? Do I see a wall? Do I see a fence? Do I see anything?
Well, you'll see several ports of entry, which are bridges that cross the river into Mexico. There is some old walling that was put up in past administrations in certain areas of the district that haven't proven to be very effective. People still are pretty easy to penetrate. So when we talk about real border security, we need to talk about incorporating cutting-edge technology that we already own. It's an American contractor that secures the border between Syria and Jordan with technology. We have 6 aerostats between my district and the adjoining congressional district. They have a very good vision. They have 180-mile capability to gather intel. They can detect folks that are trying to cross or anything that's happening. We have 27 of them that are sitting home, that are home from Afghanistan, that are sitting in storage. We should be talking about putting that type of technology on the border if you want to talk about real border security.
But if I went down towards that border and talked to your constituents or talked to the local police chief or talked to the county judge, would they tell us that they need a wall at that point in the border?
No, they will not.
What would they tell us they need?
They would tell you that, we need to fill, we have 7,500 open slots in CBP that we have not filled. I think we need to fill that.
Customs and Border Protection.
Yes, I think we need better infrastructure along the river. When we get torrential rains, it's hard for vehicles to move in some muddy roads. I think that would be a good investment. I think more sensors, more cameras, aerostats, that would be intelligent border security. The simplistic idea of building a brick and mortar wall would just be the most ignorant idea. 20 years from now, we'll look back on this and think of it as just the biggest joke at taxpayers' expense, because walls will be penetrated, they will be crossed over, they will be tunneled under. They will not. It's not like you get to build a wall and walk away from it and think now nobody can get across. We just need a barrier, which we already have. It's called the Rio Grande. We need to secure the barrier we have with cutting-edge technology, filling in Border Patrol agent spots that have been vacant for a long time now. We have 7,500 vacancies. I think we should be talking about those type of issues in terms of securing our southern border.
So, Congressman, back in 2016, I actually had a chance to go to the border and talk to some folks along the area there in Laredo, including a person who showed up in the briefing room with President Trump, who was a member of the Border Patrol Union, Hector Garza, and he says that essentially the exact opposite of how you view this, that the Rio Grande is not a deterrent, that he says from his perspective, from his vantage point, you do need something physical, a barrier to prevent people from crossing over. How do you see this so differently from him?
Okay, let me tell you, before Donald Trump was elected, I had several conversations with Border Patrol agents that secure our southern border, who we asked, what would a wall benefit? And they told us that would buy you 2 or 3 minutes. Now, after Donald Trump's election, I think people are fearful to really express those type of ideas within the agency. And it's sad. These are good working employees that follow direction, but policy comes from the top, and they follow policy very well. And that's really just the reality of what we're dealing with.
So you're suggesting there's some sort of political pressure now on people to...
Absolutely. Yes, of course there is.
He was the person, though, that actually invited the president, as I understand it, to Laredo in the first place before Donald Trump became president, to take a look at the border himself, because he felt that there had not been enough attention paid by people in Washington to the needs of folks like himself, other Border Patrol members, and he felt that there was an underfunding of the Border Patrol. He felt that there was a lack of resources and attention on this issue, and he felt that Donald Trump was frankly speaking his language, and he felt long before Donald Trump became president that in fact his message resonated quite deeply.
You may find a few folks like that, but I could tell you we should be doing more intelligent things, like in terms of technology, like I said, engaging the government of Mexico to secure their southern border. In 2006, under the Merida Plan, we gave Mexico $80 million, and that year they stopped more migration on their southern border than we did on our entire 2,000 miles. And $80 million is a drop in the bucket when we're talking $25 billion. So why don't we take, more simplistic ideas that actually work, that are more creative? We need to start thinking out of the box. Building a wall is not something that's going to bring a permanent solution to security on our southern border. It's not like I say again, it's not like you build a wall and you get to walk away and say, oh, nobody can cross it now. You still have to secure that wall. So why not just secure the river that's already there and the barriers that we already have? And I think for that, we need to fill those 7,500 vacancies that we have with the Border Patrol, and we need to hold the line. Years ago, you may remember Congressman Reyes in the El Paso division had a system called Hold the Line, and he put troops, Border Patrol agents, about a mile apart. Nobody could cross that border. That was an intelligent, militaristic but intelligent method that was very effective in preventing illegal crossings. So, at a fraction of the price, and that's what we need to start thinking about. And another thing is, people talk about a crisis on the border. We don't have a crisis on the border. We have a crisis in 3 Central American countries, in El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala to some extent. Because of failed American policy, those 3 countries have been ignored for decades now. I think we should be on the ground to get to the root of the problem, get on the ground, figure out what we can do to bring security on the ground, foreign investment that would create employment, that will incentivize folks to not want to leave home. That would bring permanent border security, and that would really get to the root of the problem, that would bring us real solutions in terms of mass migrations coming through Mexico and up into our border.
Congressman,
but we need to...
The president's going to your district on Thursday. Has the White House invited you to tag along?
They have not.
Would you go if they invited you?
I probably would.
And where would you want the president? Where would you want the president to go? What would you want him to see?
Well, I want them to see, you know, the river, come see the detention center, see the entire area, and it takes more than a couple of hours and a photo op to really get to know the border. And don't just talk to a limited few who work for the Border Patrol who don't want to really upset the administration and are going to kind of keep along with that policy. Talk to the everyday folks. Talk to the business community. Talk to the leadership in local communities, the mayors, the sheriff, the county judges. They're the ones that can give you a real honest idea. And I'll tell you, along the river, it's not a perfect place, but it's a very safe place, and it's one of the safest in the country. There is one area that's probably 50 or 60 miles west of my district that has long had a history of smuggling, and not only drugs, but back in the day they smuggled coffee and sugar and alcohol. This has been going on for probably over a century. And when I looked at the map where they were intending to build a border wall, that was not one of the places that they were going to build a wall at. And I thought, even though I'm against a wall, if I was ever going to suggest building one, that'd be an area that I would start at. So obviously, the intel that they're getting in terms of where they should and begin building a wall, even that is flawed.
All right. Well, if the president does choose to invite you along for that trip, I hope you'll come back and talk to us. Texas Democratic Congressman Vicente González. Congressman, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.